A lot of people tend to blame, hereditary and genetics on their
Mhm.
overall fitness health and honestly their potential in fitness and health, both. And I've seen that so many times, even with people that are not my clients, just hearing
Mhm.
people talk sometimes at the gym and they say, oh, my family member could never lift that much weight. I don't think I could either. So there's
Mm.
so many things that get played into this. But I've seen it a lot too with my clients where they think that their family, because their family suffered from diabetes, suffered from high cholesterol, that those things are going to impact them. And
Mhm.
to an extent, that can be a thing where, genetics make it that much more likely for you to get diabetes or, high cholesterol, just to name a couple things. But that doesn't mean it's guaranteed. In fact, if you actually take, the willpower to want to change and you actually take the initiative to change your health, transform your way of thinking, honestly, just your way of thinking, your mindset, that's enough to actually do a total 180 with your health.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
Let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. Roman Fischer is a versatile individual, embodying roles as an actor and model, as well as excelling as a bodybuilder and high-performance coach. His impact extends beyond the stage and gym, having successfully guided over 50 individuals in their journeys to transform both their physical and mental well-being. Roman is dedicated to helping others effect comprehensive life changes, focusing on mind and body improvement regardless of their fitness objectives, whether one's goals involve building muscle and strength, shedding fat, undertaking body recomposition, or enhancing flexibility and mobility. Roman is committed to aiding everyone in becoming the best version of themselves. If you are looking to achieve personal transformation, you can learn from Roman's holistic approach to health and wellness, emphasizing the importance of addressing both physical and mental aspects for overall self-improvement. So, Roman, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you here. I know this isn't necessarily a topic I cover often, right? But as entrepreneurs, our personal and physical things do affect how we are performing in business. And so it still is important to talk about. But before I get into questions on the topic for you, I'd love for you just to share your story about how you became involved in fitness.
Yeah, for sure. So I was not always a fitness, junkie or a fitness fanatic, like some, love to say. So initially, when I was growing up back then, growing up in school and going to school, I used to not care at all for fitness. I used to just go on the couch, play video games, eat anything and everything that would come to mind and that I could honestly see in front of me. So I made a huge transition, to say the least, a total 180. But what really caused that transition were a few things. So seeing my brother and just seeing him lift the weights and get into fitness himself, make that transformation. And honestly, it wasn't an overnight thing like most things, but his energy, however, just transformed almost instantly because of the
Mm,
endorphins, the just positive benefits that he got with his energy, his mental clarity and focus, and overall just energy skyrocketed. And just seeing that alone was enough to want to get me involved. And then
mm,
after I saw his gradual physical, changes and transformation, that made me also want to jump into fitness and start, lifting the weights too. Because growing up in school, I was always, picked on for being
mm,
skinny, not muscular, not, big enough, not a football, type player. A lot of people that I grew up with were on the football team. And so that they always saw me as that skinny kid that did not
mhm,
have any strength, didn't have any muscle. So seeing that honestly made me want to make that transformation as well. And
mhm,
so over time, I just got into fitness. I started lifting the weights and then honestly never looked back since. And while my diet was lacking, it wasn't the cleanest then, I still felt so much better. I saw those, changes. I saw myself get more definition, get more strength, get more muscle. And over the course of a few months, I really could see that transformation. And
Mm.
ever since, then I started looking into my nutrition, what I was eating and drinking. And let me just tell you, when I started looking and just really researching and diving in to what is in our foods, what's in our drinks, I honestly was alarmed. I was alarmed to say the
Mhm.
least. And so that actually pushed me into developing just a healthier eating pattern, if you will, or just a healthier eating habit for myself. And instead of just making it a phase, just like with fitness, I decided just to make this a lifestyle. And
Mhm.
again, I've never looked back since.
Nice. Well, I think too, when people are younger, their metabolism is way different, I think, than as we age. And so a lot of times you can kind of eat whatever and you're still not necessarily physically fit per se, but you're not putting on weight as much. Your body can, still burn those calories and you can still do things. And some people think, well, I am, the way that I am because of my genes and my family is small, so I'm going to be small. Like there's all these things that we kind of have in our heads too that are going to affect our thinking regarding
Oh, yeah.
fitness and health and stuff too. So do you want to touch on that maybe too, where some of what we are brought up maybe is impacting our decisions, but we maybe need to change that mindset?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people tend to blame, hereditary and genetics on their
Mhm.
overall fitness health and honestly their potential in fitness and health, both. And I've seen that so many times, even with people that are not my clients, just hearing
Mhm.
people talk sometimes at the gym and they say, oh, my family member could never lift that much weight. I don't think I could either. So there's
Mhm.
so many things that get played into this. But I've seen it a lot too with my clients where they think that their family, because their family suffered from diabetes, suffered from high cholesterol, that those things are going to impact them. And
Mhm.
to an extent, that can be a thing where, genetics make it that much more likely for you to get diabetes or, high cholesterol, just to name a couple things. But that doesn't mean it's guaranteed. In fact, if you actually take, the willpower to want to change and you actually take the initiative to change your health, transform your way of thinking, honestly, just your way of thinking, your mindset, that's enough to actually do a total 180 with your health and not feel
Mhm.
the same way, not develop those same kind of illnesses, diseases, and traits that your family had. So, again,
Mhm.
while it is much more likely to get those things if your hereditary has shown that and genetics have shown that, it doesn't guarantee it. So, you got
Mhm.
to make that change and start it early, start it earlier. Research what you're eating, research what you're drinking, measure your food. You don't have to get super crazy about it, but do at least portion your food. Make a
Mhm.
conscious effort and take conscious notes about how much you're eating. But even more so, it's the quality of what you're eating. So
Mhm.
you want to eat less to an extent if you're trying to lose weight, but you want to make sure that the quality of what you're eating is a lot better first.
Mhm. Well, obviously, nutrition is important, yet often as business owners, like we don't have a lot of time to do like food preparation, do the research like you're talking about, and maybe eat as healthy as we would like. So I would love for you maybe to give some tips on maybe some healthy snacks or, meals that don't really take a lot of effort and still offer the nutrition that you're talking about that's so important.
Yeah, for sure. So I found a really helpful way to actually get these meals in, and actually prep them out where you're not, spending all day in the kitchen, all the time in the
Mhm.
kitchen. I found a really good way of doing that is actually taking one day where you're not as busy and just prepping out your meals for the week.
Mhm.
I found that's a
Right.
very, very great way to do it. Another way is to honestly have some Greek yogurt, maybe some blueberries in that. That's a great snack that's pretty high in protein. It doesn't really have any sugar in it. And I found one of my favorite yogurts. It's not really Greek yogurt, but it is a low fat yogurt. And it's very filling, very satiating. But it's the 2G yogurt or 2 Good yogurt. And you can actually add in some blueberries in that. So that's a
Mhm.
great healthy snack that only takes maybe a few minutes to prepare. Maybe a few minutes to
Right.
prepare, and that's about it. So that's one way. I would also recommend some protein oats. So you can literally get some protein oats at the store, add in some almond butter or some peanut butter, and then add in like a banana and just mix that
Mhm.
up. And honestly, it is one of the healthiest, most tasty, and honestly, most filling snacks that only take
Mhm.
about 5 minutes. So those are just a couple examples. You could also have some eggs or egg whites and add in maybe just some, chicken breasts that you could just throw in the air fryer. That's another good example for sure.
Well, I definitely agree with the food prep. That's what I would do too, is on the weekends, usually like on a Saturday, I would prep whatever I needed for the week, whether it was, cutting up fruits and vegetables to maybe put into a smoothie, or, maybe preparing some tuna, to
Oh
be able
yeah.
to just eat with some lettuce or whatever it was. And then, of course, like the main dishes, because during the week, I was like, I'm not going to work all day and then want to do prep. And then
Yeah.
that's when you kind of are like, oh, well, what do you have? And you might grab something. So I definitely think preparation and planning and setting a time specifically every week does help as an entrepreneur. And especially, I'm a very scheduled person. So if I know this is what I'm going to do, right, it's
Oh
much
yeah.
easier, for me that way. So I totally agree with what you're saying regarding that, and having those quick healthy snacks that you can grab if something didn't work out and you still need to be able to eat something that is healthy and it's not ready, already prepared. You can grab, I love the yogurt and the fruit, and sometimes I'll put some like chia seeds or flax seeds or something on that too, and that helps
Yes.
me have something that is filling and wasn't too much effort to put together.
Oh yeah. Those are honestly the best, especially if you have meeting after meeting. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
quick little high protein snack. We're good in the middle of this.
Mhm. So then when it comes to actually the fitness side of it too, once again, oftentimes we are so busy with other things that we are doing, we don't have time to necessarily fit in all the things that we want to do, but we probably still have goals, right, to meet. We have where we want to be able to do certain things. So what would you say to the entrepreneur about how can we stay motivated to meet the fitness goals that we have, even in the midst of, everything else going on in our lives?
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the toughest things, especially if you're a really busy entrepreneur. So I found one of the best ways to do it is to start small, start gradual, and work your way up. And this is
Mhm.
if you're a beginner, especially, but even if you're not a beginner, this is just for really anyone of any fitness goal, of any fitness level. If you're trying to get your workouts in and your schedule, your calendar is just super hectic, I recommend just maybe starting with 2, 3 days a week full body workouts. That way, you're still getting those workouts in, but you're not working out 4, 5, 6 days a week like some people do. So that's one solid way I found to be very, very, effective and very efficient and productive, honestly.
Mhm.
Another way of doing it too is you could work out more days, but actually make them shorter workouts. So
Mhm.
maybe some high intensity days of maybe 4 or 5 10 to 15-minute workouts throughout the week. That way, you're only really working in maybe an hour of workouts total for the week, but you're
Mhm.
still getting in pretty good, short bursts of workouts in where you can actually burn a lot of calories. And
Mhm.
honestly, I recommend doing this from home. That way, you're not doing all that commuting to the gym, back from the gym. You can literally just take care of it like in your living room, in your bedroom, maybe wherever you want to work out, maybe in your garage if you have a garage. And honestly, you could even just do some calisthenics, some
Mhm.
calisthenic circuits, some calisthenic hit workouts for like 10, 15 minutes, and honestly, still get a great workout in. And do that
Mhm.
maybe just 10 minutes, 4 or 5 days a week. And you can still get great results doing that.
Perfect. And I think that is one misconception often people have too, is like, oh, well, I have to work out for, 30, 40 minutes. And like you said, even if you're doing the commute to a gym and back again too, and you're adding that time, then you're like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
I can't fit it in. Right. But like you said, if you could do 10 or 15 minutes, even if you can't even do it as many days of the week as you mentioned, at least like a small little thing, that we can get on the calendar. And like you said, start small and then maybe you could build up to it. Maybe there's seasons that you have more time and then seasons maybe you don't have as much time. But I think sometimes we feel like, oh, well, we didn't meet the goal that we had and now we failed, right? So then we just stop, right? Instead
Yeah,
of
exactly.
at least saying, well, at least I did this little bit. It may not be as much as is recommended or what I should be doing, but at least I could do this little bit. So I think that's where we also have to change our mindset around this and say, I'm not always going to be able to do what is recommended, but if I could do a little something each day or, a few times a week, that's better than nothing, right?
Oh yeah. And that's one of those, reasons, probably one of the main reasons people quit. They start and they quit because they're so overwhelmed and they overwhelm
Mhm.
themselves. I hate to say, because instead of just working out 2, 3 days a week, they're wanting to just go all in, go all out
Mhm.
right away and
Right.
just dive right in head first and literally do 5, 6 days a week, having maybe never done a workout really at all. And so that's
Mhm.
one of the worst things people can do. It's just like if you're trying to learn how to walk, like,
Mhm.
as a baby, you don't just walk right away. You have to crawl. Eventually, you learn to walk. So it comes
Mhm.
in phases for sure.
Right. Well, and I would assume that if someone starts from nothing to trying to go all out, there's even a potential risk for injury or things like that too. So, do you want
Yes.
to maybe give some tips on how we can start if we aren't very active yet and get into doing that, but also preventing those injuries that might happen if we get overexcited and we're like, okay, I'm going to work out and I'm going to do all of this. And then, we do something wrong.
Right. There's a few great ways to, honestly do this. First, I would start with lighter weight. So never lift too heavy, especially when you're a beginner. That's the worst thing you can do. You can injure your joints, you can pull a muscle. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong potentially. So I would start light and then work your way up with the weight. Beyond that, I would also focus on machines over free weights starting out. Because when you do free weights, it does activate more muscles, which is good and beneficial. But there's a huge risk of injury if you don't know what you're doing. So if you
Mm-hmm.
actually do machine workouts, the risk of injury is almost none. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
just can't really injure yourself, especially if you're not overdoing it and you're doing lighter weight on machines. You're good to
Mm-hmm.
go. So I recommend that. And then I also recommend too watching your form. So maybe recording yourself, having a friend, maybe that's a trainer with you there, or following, videos online
Mm-hmm.
and just watching your form compared to that person's form and making sure it's, aligned with that.
Mm-hmm. So earlier though, we were saying like, let's avoid the gym and the commute because that takes too much time. But most of us probably don't have machines at home, right?
Yeah,
So then
exactly.
where do we, figure out what is better then? In this case, is it better still than to stay at home and use whatever we have, even if we don't have these machines? Or starting out, maybe we should go to the gym and use machines and get where we're, getting at least in shape or, some of those things are kind of happening and then go home? Like, what do you recommend?
Yeah, so the best thing I've found if you're starting out and you're trying to also avoid, injury and the risk of injury, the best way to do it is if you can get to a gym, do that, do machines or some light weights with some light dumbbells. But you can also do it from home if you're starting out and wanting to prevent injury. The best thing I found if you're going to do it from home is do calisthenics, watch your form, record yourself doing those calisthenics, and look back at it. And
Mhm.
another good way of doing it is maybe use some resistance bands. Those are also really effective too for getting that, muscle tone, that muscle definition, and also burning those calories without really overloading your muscles. So that's
Mhm.
another powerful way to do it. Maybe even order some light dumbbells if it's in your budget.
Okay, perfect. And then talking about fitness goals too, often weight loss is one of the things that we have on that list. And getting the weight off is one thing, keeping it off can be something totally different too. So, do you have any tips or strategies that you can provide to us to help us, number one, maybe start that weight loss and then maintain it once we have achieved it?
Yeah, for sure. So I would recommend if you're trying to lose weight, always think long term. So don't expect a lot of weight loss at first up front. Now, you could get that, but you don't want to focus on losing too much too quick
Mm-hmm.
because it's not really sustainable. It's not good for your body when you're doing that. Also, keep in mind too that the scale only matters so much. So the
Mm-hmm.
scale is an indicator, obviously, of your weight, but it's not just your fat weight. It's your water weight and it's your muscle weight too, all combined. So the best way is to judge by your pictures, your measurements, and just how your clothes are feeling and fitting. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another tidbit of information. But beyond that, I recommend at least three to four times a week, lifting weights ideally, or at least some calisthenics that you can do from
Mm-hmm.
home. And that in combination with a high protein diet, roughly zero point 0.8 to maybe 1 gram per pound of your body weight, and drinking, at least 8 to 10 cups of water a day, being in that caloric deficit though. That's the
Mm-hmm.
most important thing, because if you're not in a deficit, no matter what diet you might be on, no matter how much protein you're having, no matter how, active you are, if you're not burning enough calories, then you're putting in your body, you're not going to lose weight and you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
really burn fat then. So those are
Mm-hmm.
the main tips. Also focus on good quality sleep. So getting at least 7 to 8 hours of quality rest is very paramount, because if you don't get your rest, it is going to be hard to function, feel your best, actually have energy to work out, to burn those calories. And
Right.
when you're not resting, you're not going to burn as much fat. And actually, it can be the reverse that can happen. You can actually gain weight and, or at the very least, hold on to fat. Because when you don't
Mm-hmm.
get enough, rest, your body won't burn as much fat and you'll be more apt to be stressed. And stress produces that hormone called cortisol, which actually can lead to fat gain. So it is essential. Limit your stress, get enough rest, be in that deficit, and eat enough protein and just really take care of your body. Make sure you're drinking enough water and being in that deficit with enough protein, and really don't be on a diet, just be on a high protein type meal plan that's a
Mm-hmm.
balanced, sort of nutrients with carbs and fats.
Mm-hmm. So we know we've already talked to about trying to fit in, a small amount of exercise every day, and then working up to more if possible. But there may be some times still that it's just hard because someone's at a computer all day, or the service that they do, say there's a plumber who's working all day, and they're in someone's bathroom all day. And it's just really hard. Do you have maybe some simple exercises that you could recommend that we could just do really quickly in like 5 minutes, just to help maintain flexibility, even maybe not even the weight loss or even, building muscle, but just to stay flexible so that we aren't, potentially going to get injured from trips and falls, or, just things where we lose our balance. That's so important to maintain flexibility as well.
Definitely, definitely. So there's definitely some great stretches you can do just anywhere, whether it's at the gym or maybe even on your job if you have a small little break. So I recommend doing quad stretches if you're, able to do that. If you're in a place where you have a break, I would recommend doing some quad stretches. You could even do some calf stretches where you place your hands against the wall, you put one foot forward in front of the other, and then you just lean into that one foot that's in front. And that can be a great way to stretch your calves, just make you more flexible, not as prone to injuries, especially in your legs and your calf area. You could also
Mhm.
do some tricep stretches where you put your tricep behind your head, hold it back. And then there's also some bicep stretches. You could put your hand on a wall and just twist in the opposite direction. So those are just a few examples. Of course, you can also just do some, what do you call that? The hamstring stretches. You could do those as well, where you literally touch your toes on the
Mm.
floor. Those are just some great examples, but there's a lot more beyond that.
Mhm. Well, I know, like I said, there is so many things that go into this, whether you're talking about nutrition, exercise, stretching, things like that. There's so much that goes into the fitness. And on the entrepreneurial side, we want to do more than we probably do in most cases, So I wanted to talk about this because I did think it was important. But I know we're coming close to the end of the time that we have together. So I wanted to ask, Do you have a way that listeners can contact you if they want more information? And if you happen to have anything you'd like to offer them, you could share that too.
Definitely. So yeah, if you want to find out more about me, what I do, all the clients that I've helped with their transformations and testimonials, you can go to my website at romanfisherofficial.com. And yeah, if you have any fitness goals you need help with, definitely find me on there and on my social media at Roman Fischer Official on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and even LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn.
Perfect. And why don't you spell your last name for them too, because it could be interpreted different ways with the spelling. So we want to make sure they can find you.
Oh yeah, and that is Fischer. So Roman Fischer official.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Roman, for being a guest on my show and talking on this topic. Like I said, I know it's not something that I cover often, but I do think it's important for entrepreneurs to really be able to focus on their health too. So thank you for sharing.
Definitely. I appreciate it.
And to the listener, I hope you enjoyed today's topic. And if you do want to hear additional information, you can find access to exclusive content in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.